The special city council meeting workshop is called to order. Public comments, we have none. Mr. Vice Mayor Wood is not here for item number 2 to give us a report on the water summit. I think he's hiding. Number 3, discussion regarding requirements for boards and commissions.
All right, so basically, Mayor and I noticed this this year that the forestry board specifically, and we'll talk about some more, the forestry board in the ordinance says that there shall be 2 staff members appointed. It can be city manager or designee, I believe is the exact wording. And they are voting members. That is our only board that has basically, well, it says ex officio. And we had brought it up because we had thought there was maybe a quorum issue, but when you really look at it, there's a total of 7 people that are on that board. Well, 2 of them really are always going to be there because they're staff members. So then you only need a total of 4 to make quorum. So really, you know, it's actually good for their quorum, but I'm not a big fan of our staff members having a vote on a board.
Ex officio means that they're not.
That's right.
That's how we think, but the ordinance does say
Yeah.
that. So it would take a council action to amend that ordinance to not have staff vote. We don't want to make it look like we're stacking a board in our favor or anything like that. So I think it's I think it's a good idea to look at that ordinance and say that ex officio staff members shouldn't be voting members.
I'm pretty sure ex officio means you don't have a vote.
Well, and it depends on how they do it, because a lot of places they let them vote, even though that's the definition. So you get ex officio and they show up at meetings, they don't get to do anything. Why do they want to miss work and go? In some places, but they're not supposed to vote. But the ordinance says they vote. So we need to, in my opinion, that needs to come out of there.
One, either ex officio it is, or.
The exact wording is 2 members shall be ex officio, voting member appointed to indefinite terms by the city manager or his designee from among the departments of the city. So that little voting member part is what we would want to remove.
Yeah,
Yes.
and put it as a non-voting.
Or just add non-voting member.
Just put 9 in there or do whatever, yeah.
And so we wanted to workshop it first, and then put it on your next agenda for a vote.
I actually think that the words ex officio mean non-voting, and I think
so,
it's an
But
administrative
either way,
error.
we need to change the wording.
It's
I
an
think that's-
administrative error that you could just fix.
Yeah.
That's And then what we're doing is we're pulling all of our boards and commissions. What staff was instructed to do on Tuesday was pull all of them, so we have all of those to start looking at what are the restrictions and requirements of board members. It was the mayor's intent to take a look at all of those and decide, is it too restrictive? That's one of the questions we're looking at. Do y'all want those members of boards and commissions to be residents of the city? That's one question. The Historical Preservation Committee, for example, you must own, there's this kind of a little squirrely, so you might want to tell us. Some have to own a building downtown.
There's a number of different categories on there that was put in. I believe there's 2 positions for being a property owner, 1 position, and that's the only one where you have to have special knowledge, and that would mean like an architect or something along that line. A person from the Historic Preservation Commission and so on. So there's different criteria so that there's a good mix of people on there, that bring a different skill set to the table.
My concern is that, you either got to live there, work there, own something there to be on the board for a couple of those positions.
Yes.
To me, that's restrictive in ways that sometimes it's hard to find those people that want to get in here and do that. And so sometimes we get people on there and just leave them there. And that restricts other citizens that are interested in the historical district. They don't get to come in and learn, they don't get to participate. And so part of it I understand, part of it I don't. And so when most of it's made up by restrictive type things, I personally have a problem with that. I'd rather get other people, citizens in here, and give them a shot at learning that. Nobody's going to submarine the efforts and make it go downhill. But it's like all the other boards. All of a sudden, we're getting more and more people interested in these things. And so, just my opinion, we need to remove some, if not all, the restrictions for membership to these boards. Yes, they need to be in the city or close to it, they need to, there are just so many things, but some of these are real restrictive, so.
You know, so long as we do have the option of making sure that the people have a knowledge of some of this that they bring to the table with them, you know, that they're contributing to the
And again, this is something we'll workshop and go at it from there.
Sure.
What I can do is on your Friday weekly update, I'll send y'all each board requirement, not the whole ordinance, just that little section, a little bit easier to read than
Yeah.
15 different ordinances. So we'll send that out to you with a head nod from y'all. We'll go ahead and put on the agenda for this specific one, this forestry board one that I think is probably the most imminent one. We'll go ahead and put that on the next council agenda, if that's okay with y'all, and y'all can vote on that. And then at our next workshop, y'all will be prepped with all those requirements and have a chance to look over it for a couple of weeks, and we can workshop that, if
Yeah.
that sounds good.
And if I'm not mistaken, most of the terms, for lack of a different word, when they're up, most of them are in the summertime, I think. But whenever it is,
March, yeah.
90 days ahead of time, I think Serena was saying, y'all need to let us know, so that we can make the whole process move through. And again, all of a sudden, we've got people that want to get involved. That doesn't mean we're going to replace them. It just means we have other people, we need to let them know. They want to see what's going on. They want to be part of it. So we'll look at their application and go from there. So we need to know when that turnover is coming and make it out there, so.
We want to start advertising 3 months in advance, for sure, on those positions, so we don't scramble at the last minute. Okay? We'll at least see the forestry one on the next agenda, and then I'll prep y'all some more on all the rest
And
of
on
them.
the rest of them. All right, that it on those? Number 4, discussion regarding vacant buildings, and unless they pass that today, it was going up on the House floor.
Today.
And if what they've got passes, then you can't do what we want to do. But as of a while ago, I don't know if we got a vote today or not.
I checked it 10 minutes of when I called the municipal league, and they didn't know, even at that point in time,
Okay.
if there was a vote
And
on
there's
that.
nothing on here now, so we'll just have to wait and see. And,
Okay.
but, so at this point.
Y'all just want to hold on it then? I know
Yeah.
that was Mary and Mayor. Okay.
Yeah, we want to hold on that one until we can see what, because if they pass this thing and don't let it happen, then we got to figure out another way to.
You just stole all my stuff.
And
Yeah.
OML is fighting it. I think y'all may see that on OML, is
Right.
basically a right of control of the city, is what they're arguing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to go back to number 2. Since the vice mayor showed up, you want to talk to us about your water summit?
You want me on the hot seat or right here?
You can do whatever's comfortable for you.
Okay, all right. Well, Maxine was there, so Maxine can talk to certain topics probably better than I could on the municipal side of things. It was on February 21st at Rose State College. We had a talk by Carolyn Stager from OML gave a talk in the beginning, talking about what we're doing through OML. One of the things I thought was most interesting, I've always been really interested in this idea of us selling water to Texas or not. And there was a Supreme Court case that occurred recently in the last 2 years, and something we've been talking about for a number of years as to whether to sell water to Texas, because we have excess water in this state. And so Tarrant County itself, Dallas-Fort Worth area, by the way, it's one of the fastest growing areas in the country, and so is many places in Texas, like Houston area. If we sell water to Texas, the concern is if we ever go dry here, will they, and they become dependent on our water, are we kind of stuck with that situation where we're hurt and they're fine because they're taking our water, you know? So that is a big concern. There's a big talk about using that money to move our water and put infrastructure from the east side of the state to the west side of the state. And the reason is because the west side of the state is very, very dry, but we don't have the infrastructure. And infrastructure could cost billions of dollars. Oklahoma City is going to have to spend $1 billion to pipe water down to their water resource in Sardis Lake that they bought those rights, even though the water rights in Sardis is contentious because the tribes feel like they own that water as well. So there's some court problems down there. What we do in the future is interesting. Mary Fallon has stated that she might actually, well, and I've heard this, is that she might have us sell water to Texas. And I don't know, that's going to be very controversial, I think, if we do sell water. And because, again, if they get dependent on it, we might be in trouble. And we might not see it, but 20 years down the line, are we going to sell our future short with that and make money in the short run? I don't know. We'll see. So I thought that was a very interesting issue. I'm glad they brought it up. And sorry, my voice is hoarse. I've had a respiratory infection. I've had a hormone shot and everything, so I'm still in the recovery mode. So my voice actually sounds better than it sounded in the last couple weeks, I think. So, which is hard to believe, I know. See, James Milton actually talked about our real water case for a while. He's a very high-techy type of lawyer guy, so sometimes it's hard to follow him, but I knew what he was talking about because he's, of course we've been working with him for a number of years, but I had folks going, well, what? They weren't sure. There's a lot. This is a very, in some ways, a very techy conference. I mean, they talked about, water treatment, the pharmaceuticals going in our water, what do we do with the pharmaceuticals, what do we do with other chemicals in our water. I mean, some stuff that I'm not used to hearing about, so some of it is just like, okay, well, maybe I'll have to read up on this stuff because it is very high-techy stuff. It's like water nerds. These are water nerds. They really are. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. People are very into water, and I like water too. I like the policy side of it. Some people are very in the technical, chemical treatment side of it, and so. And I did have. Serena actually came to my class on Thursday and talked about wastewater and wastewater treatment.
Favorite subject.
Yeah, and we had a DEQ guy come as well. So, yeah, I've been really into water for the last few weeks. So, and I'm glad Serena came because she really knows wastewater treatment, and that's really a weakness of mine. I'm still learning about. There's a lot to wastewater treatment, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I can go on. Do you guys
We
want me to
prefer you not.
Okay. You guys begged for me to do this, so I can keep going on if you want, but.
I think the pharmaceuticals piece is real, it's one of those hidden things that people don't understand that, I'll give you an example. Whenever you take a prescription and then you release that back in your wastewater system, there's no treatment, there's no technology for treatment to then treat that product, that wastewater product, to put back into drinking water. So my best example is, for example, the city of Denton draws from the same drinking water that they dispose into. So their wastewater plant goes into that lake and then you draw from it. It had some of the highest traces, this is Lake Louisville, had some of the highest traces in the nation of birth control and antidepressants because that was what was consumed. And then you urinate that.
Send everybody to go swimming there.
So the students often said they got to drink their beer twice. But anyway, so it goes back into the same system, but there's no treatment for the excess of pharmaceuticals, and the FDA only regulates to the point of sale, not after the fact. And the water industry has not been able to treat it. So you will see communities that have traces of pharmaceuticals in their water supply. It's wow.
Let me do also note, this summer, we expect to have a hot, dry summer, just like we had 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, as you know, a lot of places around the state had to do a lot of conservation efforts, showering every other day and watering every other day. And I mean, some crazy stuff that when I was in California back in 1990, they were doing already. I was like, what, you're doing that? What? That's crazy. But we were doing it a couple of years ago. They expect us to do that again. However, because, and I actually heard this at the water plant, or water summit, is that our water plant, being up to date, has really allowed us to kind of get around some of the water restrictions on our community, which is a very good, a good thing for us. So we really kind of hit that at the right point, having that water plant. So I'm glad we did that. But we often are very reactive in the state as well as the community because we only did that because we had to. We did that because the DEQ demanded it, because our plant was very old. That's a problem with our wastewater treatment plant. And so I want to be just honest with you guys that, a wastewater treatment plant is at one of the older plants. Same with Blackwell, right? We brought
Top
that
two
up the
oldest
other day.
plants in the state.
And so we're gonna have to, that's a serious planning issue that we're gonna have to deal with in the future as a wastewater treatment plant. I think that we can, through the DEQ, kind of put some Band-Aids on it, and we're already making some short-term fixes on it, but I'm not sure what the lifespan is, but maybe 5 years, we're gonna really start having to think about it. So yeah, and the thing is yes, it's in 5 years, but we need to start thinking now, how are we gonna deal with that issue? So, while our water treatment plant is A+, we're doing awesome in the state, the wastewater treatment plant, we're struggling, so, I did learn that in the last week, so. You want me to go on there?
All I
I
can
wanna see
say,
if Maxine has anything to say.
Okay, next.
I agree with him. It was probably, I've been to about 7 of those summits, and in my estimation, my opinion, this one was the best one I had ever been to. They did emphasize a lot of the classes and the talks on reuse.
Oh, yeah.
Reuse was a huge emphasis, but it was really good. A lot of good speakers, and I learned a lot too. So
Can I mention something on the reuse? Reuse will affect us. Well, reuse is good in Oklahoma City. Edmund is talking about it, so I even asked this question about how does this affect places downstream. Well, Edmund's going to do this reuse, and we're going to look at them doing it in the next couple of years. Well, what it affects us, because Cottonwood, part of their flow comes from Edmund, our flow, and that's going to hurt how much water we get. So we're going to have to make some changes. We have talked about some of those changes that we have to make to accommodate that change in recycling down there, but we're going to have to make some policy changes and operation changes to accommodate their reuse.
Probably go back and look at that dam issue, not that
Low water
issue,
dam.
but
Yeah.
do a low water, put back in the dam that once was there is gonna help capture some of that. But you're right, it will reduce our inflow.
Yeah.
What else?
You want me to go on?
No, you done?
Okay, I can. You guys wanted me,
Do you
so
have anything exciting to tell us?
You done with the damn issue?
the dam issue.
And it begins.
All right. Thank you, John Wood. We appreciate that.
And Joe, thanks for pointing out, we do have one of the 2 oldest
Yeah, we
wastewater
do.
plants in the state.
We do, and we have to spend money every year making little updates to make sure that we're in compliance for the next 5 years, because that's a multi-million-dollar, wastewater treatment plant. We're gonna have to do probably a bond issue or something in the future. So, and we're gonna be forced to. It's not gonna be because we want to. It's because we're forced to. Tell you the truth. That's.
Right, our favorite people, DEQ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
DEQ. All right, so we got that, we've done 3, 4 we can't do yet, 5, discussion regarding agenda items. I would like to talk about number 3, which is that computer lease purchasing we were talking about. If you don't mind.
Sure. We operate about 75 computers total within the city. More than half of those meet the expectations of a replacement. We had budgeted under computer operations of the general fund approximately a little over 10,000 for just that issue. Some of those come out. Some things that we've experienced this year, for example, was I noticed that our fire chief brought his personal computer from home. For the past 2 years, we had never even budgeted him an actual computer for work. Then IT wouldn't work on it, etc. One of the major issues we're facing is that XP will no longer be supported next month by Windows. Most of our computers are not capable to be updated, so we have a serious security threat not having those networked properly. We have had, what we typically do is what we do with everything else. We wait till it completely dies, and that's what we've been doing and buying things as they die. At a 1.75% interest rate, we can get 30 computers rather than outright buying about 10 of them and be able to pay that for the next 3 years at a 1.75% interest. So in an effort to get as close to caught up was to buy those now, and go ahead and get those situated. I think Jim probably can give examples of sitting, if you look at it from an operation standpoint, his crashes multiple times a day. Just sitting in his office is frustrating enough being in the HR director's office, but number two is that, the loss of productivity of work, that happens for all of our employees. I know it's all through planning, et cetera. And at 1.75%, we couldn't help but bring you, something that would allow us to lease
How old
purchase.
are these computers typically?
8 to 10 plus
Oh,
years.
Oh, my
What,
gosh.
well past
They should
Band-Aid.
throw them in the trash.
Mine,
Well, they're-
I would say mine's 7 or 8 years old, and it's one of the newest.
Yes.
Well, I
mean,
would say the pros of leasing, and I don't like leasing for everything, but I think for a computer, it's a short-term thing. There's so many updates you have to do. You gotta keep updating these things. 7, 8 years is ridiculous.
We can't even update what
Yeah.
they're at now.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is great because, after like, what is it, 3-year lease, you can see if there's any other updates you gotta make and, make changes and update. I mean, they change windows all the freaking time, and it's
Yeah,
amazing.
mine's already been changed twice.
So,
Now, if I understand this right, under end of term options, we have a choice to buy them out for $1 or return them. So it isn't a matter of swapping them for another one, so we go through the process again for a lease purchase, right?
okay, all right.
So my questions are, I understand the Windows XP. I understand the 30 computers out of the 75, but of the 45 left, how many of those have Windows XP that are tied in with the network here in the building?
I'd have to ask how many of those, because we haven't identified exactly which 30 computers. We were told to replace more like 50, but we just went with 30, and then we'll find the worst. We were gonna originally replace one who had the oldest, but that doesn't always work. For example, the convenience center, we gave them one of the reject computers because really they only use it for Word, check internet for DEQ. So we're looking at use. My employees that live and breathe by computers there may be an older one somewhere, but we're not gonna replace a convenience center one
Yeah,
Right.
because someone else needs it
so
more.
priority.
So, one of our networking issues, but can be fixed without buying new computers, is that the convenience center, airport, water plant, cemetery, maybe another one, are not networked, so they don't have access to sharing of information. They may have internet capability, but not what I call
Not on the net.
networked.
Right.
Well, their work isn't backed up
They're not
either.
tied up to your server.
I've got an airport manager that goes through documents every day that doesn't have backup unless he brings his own personal drive and backs up things.
The external hard drives are cheap.
We can do
something like that and having
we
backup.
can, what I prefer always is that it's being backed up every night to the server, so that if somebody forgets something. But you're right, and that's probably what we do now. Or what I'll have him do is he emails me documents, then I save them on the server, which we went through this morning, and so
What a pain.
it's not real conducive. So we do, but we can get those networked without having new computers if they can upgrade. So
Right.
like I'll say cemetery, for example, probably not gonna upgrade the one at the kiosk. We had to, the kiosk is where individuals can go to find their loved ones, so that computer really just does that. We had to fix the kiosk, but we probably won't replace that to be networked, because we can dump information in it, so it kinda depends, sorry.
So back onto this again, we're gonna do this year for 3 years. Next year, we're gonna do it again for 3 years?
We haven't gotten that far. We were looking at maybe not replacing the whole rest of them. We wouldn't need to. So like the past few years, you've had I have to go back, 20,000 I sent you, I forgot. We're actually decreased this line item significantly over the years from not doing outright purchasing. We could maybe do, let's say 5 next year, or whatever it is that gets us on a rotation, so that whenever we finish, let's say 5 years, we've at least got 60% of decent computers.
You can add 5 per year?
You could, and then get on what we want to do is a how many year rotation?
I
Well-
was being conservative with 6-year rotation, 6-year, and that's, Edmund does 5-year. I figure if they can do 5, we can do 6.
So on some of these, if you're talking about 6-year, we got a 3-year, buy them for $1, and then keep them for a couple of years, and then,
But you may need to buy the other, some of the
Right, some of the
leftovers, and
others.
sure, but I'm saying
Sure.
not all of them,
Right.
not everybody's.
We may not need to do 30 again in 3 years. We may only need to pick up 15. And
How
they're
many
all
total
coming with
computers do you have right now?
75.
75.
Yeah.
And they're all coming with Office 13, so we're coming with the latest update, or as far as the Office products go.
It's supposed to be real good from what I've heard.
And we're operating on 2007.
Now, when we update on the servers, this admin IT that does the update on new stuff? Once these, if we get these, admin IT does the update on the server?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I even have 10.
The problem with having computers that old, is sometimes you can't even open up stuff.
Oh, it's,
Oh, yeah.
it's unbelievable.
You know, yeah.
As much
All right.
as
Just say
it's
that it's a
On the lease purchase, I understand 1.75% interest is a great interest. And I know you don't want to throw all your money out there, but we're lease purchasing 6 vehicles now.
You lease
And-
purchase 6 vehicles.
So over the years, we're adding on some small debt in here so that in the next budgets, we're gonna be less and less because we're paying this out over years on credit, basically. Is there any way we can pay for this? I mean, we've had some,
You'd just decrease it to buy 10 computers, which of course doesn't help our operations. You could.
oh, you're talking about what was already in the budget?
Yeah, what's in the budget right now, then you could just outright buy 10 when
Uh,
we need 50, 60 replaced.
we had sales tax extra because of people buying more things, and we had some extra funds that were not on the budget. Is that something that we could use to buy this instead of putting it out there on that, or is
We
this?
rolled all of our sales tax from last year into the rainy day fund,
Okay.
so we don't carry over
So
money
no,
anymore.
I mean the last quarter or
Ah.
whatever,
We were squirreling, we haven't touched it.
okay?
We have not touched that money.
Is this a consideration?
I would consider putting that towards capital rather than a lease. And I wanna tell you about your lease purchases, just so you know. One of the lease purchases on a Charger, it will be finished in 2013, it should have been finished this last quarter.
Yeah, it's done.
And then there's a dump truck, which will be finished this year. And then there's an excavator for 2018, a dump truck for 2018. So really only 2 of those, and then the Shortel system pays for itself.
Right, the phone.
It ends up actually, making
Right.
us money compared to what we've done in the past. And so then fire, that was funded by EMS board
Right.
funds on a lease purchase, so you're not paying for that lease purchase.
Okay.
And then Spirit Wing, that's a little bit different, they're not funded, they're funded different ways. And then the 3 vehicles this year, so you're really at a very, 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 very small lease purchase in the city. It may
Yeah.
seem like a lot, because I think lately we've done some, the ambulance, for example, but we don't pay for that.
Yeah, I mean, 20,000 is going to drop off in fiscal year 15. So 20,000 that we're paying this year, we won't be paying next year.
All right, then that leads to a couple of questions. 30 computers enough?
I mean, we would,
Yeah.
I mean, if XP is going away, which it is in
Right.
April, why do we want to have an XP system tied into a server that may or may not create a problem for these new computers if we get them?
I'm not smart enough to answer that, the XP part of it, other than our IT, when I talked to him, for example, today, just said, whatever you have that's not on XP will not be supported.
Okay,
So if they're just using Word, it's not
Okay.
major. For those of us that live and breathe by it, it's major. So I would say 30 can do this year. I mean, we feel comfortable with 30, but it may mean 5 next year.
so basically 10,000 in a year for the next 3 years to pay off this lease
To pay that
purchase,
one,
give or
and
take.
then little bit just for the 5 would
Okay,
be
not another 30.
pretty small.
No, yeah.
No, we don't anticipate another 30.
Any other questions from council on that? Everybody got that?
I'm good with that.
You guys
yeah.
understand?
Makes sense.
All right.
You priced max,
Do what?
price max, if you priced max,
Um,
they'll actually last long.
yeah, we've had that, Jim and I have definitely had that conversation, because GTV 20 and anything that does design work,
Needs a
but
Mac.
he has a Mac, so we didn't price him for the office section of work, but we did
Well,
for
there is
design.
somewhat of a learning curve from Windows to Mac anyway.
I'm sure there is.
Are they kind
And
of
you have to buy,
proprietary though?
you have to buy special programs to work with your Excels and your Words and things like that if they're Macs,
Yeah.
so.
It's hard.
But we
I know
do
our
use them.
Financial
Yeah.
billing software works on Access,
can't
and
work with
Oh,
sure.
and that's a Windows,
Yeah.
yeah. So it might not be
Railroad operation, don't have nothing to do with it.
cost effective to go with all Macs.
Aaron loves his.
Well, yeah,
We
because
couldn't
he's
take
in
it with his
design.
design one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Exactly.
designers,
Design,
they're,
you've gotta have a Mac.
the planning, you know.
Yeah,
Only so much you can do a publisher.
yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, can we get them a Mac?
What we did for
Oh,
GTV. Thanks, John. No. Thank you, thank you.
I mean, if that's what they
Oh,
need.
it's
so-
done, is
If
that
she
what
can
it's
make it
on now?
compatible, I wouldn't
Or
argue
what?
that.
Is Mac on an OS?
I think they've
10?
gotten better,
I don't
but
know.
you have to do some things to make them compatible, but.
When was your, you had?
Mine is actually a fairly new one, it's only 2.5 years old.
You're fine now.
But nice try, thank you so much.
All right, any other questions on agenda items? Any discussion regarding agenda items? Anybody got anything in there? Number 6, request for future items of discussion.
We are gonna place on the next agenda to ask if, I couldn't read my notes, if y'all would allow painting to be allowed on windows for the 89er window competition, just so it'll be similar to like Mumford where y'all allowed them to do so for a period of time.
Well, painting has been being done on the windows since I can remember.
Yeah. we can do that
And,
for
well,
years.
to be technical, we've always allowed it, I think,
Yes, they have.
to make it
Official.
official.
Did they ask to do that? They did?
It's on their deal that they're going, their flyer that came out. that
Yeah.
they
And we
wanna
have
paint the
Andrea that
windows.
goes to all the meetings that she
Yeah.
came back and told
Usually
us.
the windows
Yeah.
are not painted, usually, I mean, the
Or
ones that they have the contest are
Decorated.
inside.
Yeah, you're right.
They asked for painting though, so maybe
Yeah,
there's
they're
somebody
asking for
that.
decorating inside the window for displays.
Right,
And then they brought up, I read that where they were saying about painting the windows like they did for the other stuff, so it's something new this year that,
Yeah, it's
it's, I'm
definitely new.
wondering how it's gonna go, but I know Stacy's doing
Maybe it's
the,
either or.
yeah, Stacy's doing the decorating inside the window display
for
type
their
stuff.
normal
and then-
contest,
So,
yeah.
all right, so that'll be on the next one,
It'll give them enough time.
okay?
They do it anyways.
Any other future items of discussion?
Yeah, they're gonna ignore us anyway, that's what we do.
All right, item 7, we are adjourned. Oh, no, we're not adjourned, never mind. Remember, we've got the Citizens Academy gonna be at city council tonight, so they'll be up there, we'll give them a certificate, shake their hand, throw them out, and they may be your next board members, city council members, whatever.
Will
So
they be first before the actual council?
we will do the GPWA, and then as soon as they open the council, then we'll read about them and go from there.
They were a great group, guys, I got it, they were.
How many?
Regularly 14, you know, on a regular basis. They were really, really engaged.
Good.
All right, item number 7, we're adjourned.